Thank you for joining me today for the Me and White Supremacy virtual pilgrimage. We are on week 27, and we've just got probably this video and then week 28. And then I think I'll probably do one more video just to sort of encapsulate this journey we've been on. My name is the Reverend John Borthwick, and I'm the minister here at St. Andrew's in Guelph. And I've invited my congregation to join me on a pilgrimage, a virtual one at that, through the book by Layla Saad called Me and White Supremacy. It's been an amazing journey, and I've been grateful for the companions I've had along the way to talk about how I'm engaging and how I'm hearing and reading and listening to what's being said in this important book. I would encourage you to get the book yourself, to have a read, to walk through it in a more intentional way. This isn't a book that you should just skim through. That's why we've taken as long as we have, all the way back into, was it the spring of last year that we started this? Amazing to be a part of this interesting and engaging material around anti-racism and doing the work that isn't easy, but it was never said to be easy. Doing the work that's necessary, doing the work that's hard, and keeping to do it. Today, this week, week 27, we're talking about you and losing privilege. And so again, these really short chapters near the end of the book, she's just sort of trying to sum up some of what we've talked about throughout this journey and leave us with some takeaways as we think about this. And again, I want to share her questions as a part of the reflection, but it's really about, for those who identify as white, how do we navigate the world when we start to feel a sense that something's changing for us? When we finally recognize, if we come to that place where we recognize that we do have privilege in this world, we navigate the world in a different way than others. The world literally is designed for us in so many ways if you identify as white. And for BIPOC, that has been challenging, difficult, harmful, traumatizing, and continues to be. And so part of the experience of being committed to anti-racism is really about relinquishing some of the privileges that we have, but even going deeper, being willing to lose privilege entirely. And here's just a few examples of what she talks about of what being willing to lose privilege looks like. And again, we've mentioned some of these as we go, but let me share just a few from her book. So, taking responsibility for your own anti-racist education with the free and paid resources already publicly available, instead of expecting BIPOC to do that work for you. And this just brings up something for me. I remember being in a room, a diverse room of people, where somebody who would identify as white was speaking to a person who would identify as black. And this conversation was happening where the person who identified as white was asking some questions and asking of the person who identified as black, essentially to explain or help them understand some things. And this is where sometimes this work becomes difficult, because we've talked about it before in all the journeys we've had already. The person said to this other individual who was white, I'm not here to teach you your own history. I'm not here to teach you the things that clearly you need to learn. Go and learn them, and then let's have that conversation again. And for some people in the room, it got a little tense just for a second there, because we've talked about this, right? We've talked about throughout this journey that within someone who identifies as white, they see that as confrontational, rude, a kind of rejection, a pushing away. I'm just interested. I'm just curious. Why won't you help me? And this is where privilege comes in, and this sense of entitlement that someone else from the BIPOC community needs to teach you, needs to tell us, we need to take something from BIPOC. We need to, just give us what we want in a way. Both were polite individuals, essentially, to each other. Both were seeking some kind of mutual understanding in things. But it was an important statement to make. And this is a part of losing privilege, right? Being willing to lose privilege means going and doing the work yourself, paying for it, engaging in it, picking up a book like this, purchasing the book, watching these kind of videos, exposing yourself to it, instead of expecting someone else to do it for you. Something to think about. Losing privilege might mean amplifying BIPOC voices more than your own. It could mean showing up for protests and marches for BIPOC, calling out or in leaders, organizations, and institutions that are discriminating or doing harm to BIPOC. Continuing to show up, and I think this touches on the example I just gave, continuing to show up even when you are called out, or when you feel discomfort or fatigue, or you are not rewarded for it, either socially or financially. Taking up less space and allowing BIPOC to take up more space so that they can be heard and their leadership can be followed. And this is one of the hard ones that we've talked about the last few weeks around family and friends. Risking relationships and comfort by speaking up instead of staying silent. And let me end with a few questions that Layla asks of us. Number 1, in what ways will your privilege need to change in order for you to be consistently able to practice anti-racism? 2, how will you need to change the way you take up space for and with BIPOC? 3, how will you need to show up differently for BIPOC? 4, what risks must you be willing to take? What sacrifices must you be willing to make? 5, what comforts must you be willing to lose? 6, in what ways will you need to take greater responsibility? 7, how will you need to decenter whiteness and the white gaze? 8, how will you need to lose privilege and safety in your friendships, workspaces, businesses, families, spiritual communities, and other white-centered spaces? 9, are you willing to lose your white privilege after everything you've learned here? Things to reflect on as we continue this journey, this virtual pilgrimage of For Me and White Supremacy. Thank you for joining, and thank you for listening.